Friday night, I want a Chippy Tea. Chippy Tea, Chippy Tea, I want a Chippy Tea. Oh, you keep giving me posh, no, she don't agree with me. I don't want lobster thermidor with raspberry coulis. It's Friday night, I'm within me rights, I want a Chippy Tea.
Not the life back and feet. It looks like a lenticular outfit, that t-shirt.
It is.
Is it? Doesn't actually change, or does it?
No, it's just 3D. Yeah.
Cool, that. Like it. Right, episode 78.
Right, here we
Do
go.
you remember what to do?
No, I ain't got a clue. It's been a while. So, here we go. Welcome to episode 78 of the Chippy Tea podcast, which is your chance to catch up, to interact, to listen in and watch, as we have a regular video call between me, Tony P at Palm Print, and
Danny D, Flipper Suit Print Co.
Cheeky wink. That's just for Luke.
Bless him. I've convinced him to come on. I don't know if he's accepted the offer yet, but
yeah, we'll get him on. We are going to spend a bit of time just chatting about what we've been doing this week, roughly covering screen print as we go through what we've had to endure this week, printing T-shirts for other people, which is, if we'd have done better at school, we probably won't be doing this, but here we go. So we will.
That's a good question, that, though. Genuinely, though. Could you see yourself doing all else? Whether you'd have done good at school or not?
This was not my chosen profession.
It wasn't?
Absolutely not. No, nowhere near. This was a last ditch attempt. I was.
Did the career in Bollywood not go according to plan?
Twisted a ligament in my knee, and that were it. I was finished.
Oh.
No more dancing for me.
No more dancing, no.
Computer studies was my chosen field. I was supposed to be a systems analyst. I was doing 2 years at college, 4 years at uni, an extra year for what we call the higher national diploma. Got to come out to
analyst?
A systems analyst, yeah. Systems analyst and systems creator.
At the
time, it's so strange talking about it now, but at the time...
Little stones on abacuses.
It was the best example of a systems analyst was the British Airways flight system. Knowing where all the aeroplanes were, when they were going to arrive, when they were going to land, and whether they were delayed or not, was run by a computer system and displayed on a big screen.
Right.
And that was the epitome of a systems analyst in 1985 when I was studying it. I was obsessed with computers at the time.
Making sure that runs properly.
That was my whole life was mapped out as being in the computer science field.
Wow, how interesting.
I was a good student in all the subjects that it should have been, which was the physics, the advanced mathematics, all those things. And then the English school system at the time was GCSEs. Actually, it was CSEs and O-levels.
CSEs, yeah.
CSEs took and O-levels took zero account for coursework. It was all about exam day. And I flunked every exam, all 9, got 0. Just went to pieces on the revising and just failed everything. Supposed to do another year's worth of study to catch up, and during that year of study to catch up, which was called a Certificate of Pre-Vocational Education, basically got me enough points to get back onto the uni track.
Oh, I know what you mean now. Yeah.
And during that year, all my mates sort of found cars, beer, and pussy, and I was like, "I'm still working behind a bar for £7 a week, and I want some of that." So I said to my mum, "I'm going to drop out." She says, "Nope, not unless you get a job." And the first job I got, printing T-shirts.
Wow! So you just accidentally got into this massive. What a strange key event, and then just think it's set your entire life up. Your whole life's been set by that one.
So 1987, living in a pub, a working men's club actually, in middle of Wakefield, and my mum. I've told my mum I'm dropping out, and she says no, not until you get a job. So I'm like looking for a job, like can't find one. Typical teenager. So everybody that comes in the pub, she asks them if there's any jobs going at your place, any jobs at your place, any jobs at your place. And two guys that came in on a Sunday were worked at John Green's and Sons, which was like half a mile down the road. They came in on a Sunday to have a chat with all the mates, and they brought an application form in.
Huh.
And without that, I'd have had a proper job.
God. What an unlucky turn of events.
Yeah, it was. It was not my chosen profession at all.
Right, it worked out in the end, didn't it? So,
it's one of those things when you first start a job and you're like, all right, I couldn't believe they give me £1 for every hour I attended. I didn't have to work, just be there. And that first realisation was like, you're going to give me £1 for every hour I'm here? Yeah. Whether I'm working or not? Yeah. Well, how do I stay longer? What do you mean? Well, they did a 5 till 10 shift, like a twilight shift. I volunteered for every one of them. So no, we only want you to do one. So no, I'll do all 5. We work 8 in the morning till 10 at night, 5 days a week. Yeah, it's just Saturday morning as well.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
6-2 on a Saturday. First 4 hours, time and a half. Next 4 hours, double time. I'm like, sign me up. Regularly 80 hours a week just to get money.
Got to do it. Times that pound by 11.5 now.
No, yeah. It wasn't even a minimum wage. It was just like, that's what you get.
Just sort of going
you get £39 a week. That's what you get. Finish at 1 on a Friday.
Couldn't even go get pissed for that.
No.
I'd struggle.
Yeah, it's about an hourly rate in the US now, is that?
Yeah, but it is, yeah. God. I'm trying to think where I would have ended up. I don't...
What were you doing?
I had my backstories. I lose track. I think I could have gone in 2 directions. I could have been grafting...
In jail.
In jail, yeah. Could have been dead or printing T-shirts. I could have been grafting on a building site. As a child, growing up, I would always say and reiterate, I'm going to work for myself. I was going to be my own boss. Said that growing up.
Really?
From a really young age. So no matter what I did, it was always going to be off my own back. And for quite a long while, when we moved to Brid, I helped my dad. We basically had to rebuild our house.
What are you a fireman, your dad?
My dad was a fireman, so after work, me and him, bear in mind I was a young teenager then, we basically rebuilt that entire house. And off the back of that, I got a bug for crafting. I loved carting bricks about and mixing cement, and I loved plastering and cutting bits of timber up and joining and everything. I absolutely loved it. But at the time, I was also a massive nerd, and I was building websites, and I was very lucky to be one of the few kids on my street who actually had a computer. So I got into computers really early. So there were 2 directions. I was either going to go into building, I guess you could call it, or joinery, or some sort of construction trade, or we're going to go down computer route, which probably would have been building websites, some creative Photoshop, Illustrator wise, graphics design, and somehow I guess the 2 computers of building websites and graphics design and Illustrator found its way into printing T-shirts, and I've got a bit of everything. And in a long story short, I guess I chose the computer side, and then sort of a byproduct of the computer side is the T-shirt is a physical product at the end of that computer work, I guess, if you like. But yeah, it was either that or Formula 1 driver as well. Forgot about that.
There's no money in that, mate. Stick to your T-shirts.
No, I will. T-shirts was the right choice. Oh, dear. So yeah. How's life been back at home? Because you've been up road, haven't you?
So I think I left beginning of May. Around about beginning of May.
What are we on?
April, sorry. Did I do it?
So you've done a good month then, haven't you?
So I've done a good month away. I hit 3 or 4 really good new MHM customers in the US, and finished off with one that I've been to before. it's always a strange one going to a place you've been before. Because obviously my job is to give advice, and you don't have to take my advice.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It'd be crazy if you paid for my advice and didn't take it. But some people don't take my advice. And if I go to a place that there's a place in England that I know really, really well that doesn't take my advice, and this will be the third or fourth time I've been in now, and it's so frustrating that I think the last time I went in, I pretty much copied and pasted my report from the previous visit because nothing had changed, despite the advice. Nothing had changed. And then there are places where they take my advice and they fucking run with it.
You see,
those are the awesome ones. This one that I did in Colorado, in Denver, the guy I think has bought the place, but has never printed. Now he's about 3 or 4 years into buying this place. He's a complete money man, a numbers man,
right.
Completely logical, good guy, nice guy, not an arsehole. But don't really know anything about printing, except for what he's been told by, let's call it, less than dubious consultants.
Right.
So they've told him to go down this path. And my first visit to him is so far down this path, I'm like, what are you doing? This is crazy. And now, at some point, somebody convinced him to get a second-hand MHM from his M&Rs. And he's seen straight away the advantage of this. So he's got another. He's got 2 now, second-hand MHMs and an old M&R. And 5 manuals. Five manual carousels. Yeah. And they're putting 6 and 8 colour jobs on the manuals.
Right. Are they autos, smaller autos, or
12, 14, 16s?
Oh, that seems silly.
It does seem silly. But they've got I think I've told the story before, they had an iMage that somebody had converted to an MHM pins.
I do. It does ring a bell, that, yeah.
But converted it, I want to say badly, but that's actually doing a disservice. They've converted it well, but they've missed a few key components. Basically, from the physical holding of the screen is not quite the same as the physical holding of the screen when it's in the press.
Yeah, it's slightly off.
And trying to save 50 quid has made the whole thing not quite work. It's not horrendous, it's not miles off, it's not on the next pallet or up. But it's enough for the printers not to trust it.
Yeah.
So they all look through the mesh when they're setting up. So when they're doing 7 or 8 colour jobs with name changes and name drops, it takes a long time. And the guy sat in his office looking at the numbers going, should I stop selling this product? Because it takes so long.
Yeah, I know.
And I've got such a huge demand for it. So when I've gone in the first time, my advice has been, look, I know this unit cost you 50 grand. And it's like 80 grand is an iMage, brand new. So I know this unit's cost you like 50 grand and you're well invested in it. And you're sort of making it work. But you have to realise that at some point you're going to have to invest in a proper spider or a Delphi or a laser or something.
Something that's actually made for the system.
Something that moves the registration process from the shop floor to the darkroom. Simple as that. And I didn't think he would. But that was my advice. And then there were lots of other little bits of advice as well, looking for bottlenecks. Because I'm at an advantage. If you don't work there, it's very easy not to get blinded.
Yeah, outside
by the day-to-day, the personalities, there's nothing's protected. When I walk into a shop, it's all open.
Yeah.
And I do have a bit of a unique gift in being able to see how work is moving and find the weak spots. On a flip side, I also saw a really strong spot. There was a girl working there who was awesome, but only really young.
Right.
Like 25, 26-year-old. But it didn't take me long, about 3 or 4 hours, just watching and listening. Anybody had a problem? And Amanda sorted it. And go see Amanda. So eventually I'm like, who the fuck's Amanda? It's that girl there. What does she do? Oh, she's just QC. Just QC. And yet she's solving all the problems.
That don't make sense.
Everybody goes to her for answers. Okay. So, part of my evaluation is not just the equipment, it's the people. It's to basically take this girl and make her a manager. But she's only 26. Don't care. People are already going to her.
Yeah.
No, they're not. I'll ask them. They won't tell you the truth. They'll say they go to the old guy in the corner who's always been there since year dot, and he sorts everything out. But in reality, he just sits and plays fucking Minesweeper all day long.
Yeah, well, this is where your outside view, you've not got that tunnel vision. You're not in there every single day just going through the motion. You can come and you can see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And that's one of those where you just have to be blunt to them and say, look, this person's been completely underutilised. She'll make you money at the end of the day. She can take your business to another level or make it far more efficient if you just put her in a position.
Make it more
irrelevant of age.
Yeah, irrelevant of age or what everybody else thinks, yeah.
This conversation's come up so many times through my life. Minimum wage for age-specific minimum wage is such a ridiculous concept because if someone's capable of doing the job, in my opinion, they should be paid the same as if you're 20 or 36 or 126, whatever. If you're capable of doing the job and you're capable of doing it well, you should get the same amount of money. So 25, if she's capable of going into a managerial role, or a floor manager or whatever you want to call her, rather than QC.
Floor manager is a great description. Yeah.
But the owners at shops should just see her as an asset, and it's only going to help them. It's only for their benefit, isn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes it takes somebody with no. I hate office politics, workplace office politics.
Yeah.
When you get to a place of about 50 people, it's complicated. But
Ailey tells me about it all the fucking time. She gets after work and she's like, and you think, fuck me, I'm so glad I work for myself.
Yeah, but you can fall out with yourself.
Well, I do, to be fair, quite often. I've told myself to fuck off loads.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a good visit, and he bought a spider. And I got there on the install of the spider. Now, installing a spider, we had this discussion when I was in Belgium, installing LTS. Somebody went from film to LTS. Well, this place has gone from iMage to spider. You could almost say it's the same, but it's not, Danny.
No.
They both read different files.
Right.
So this is the hard bit. Let's imagine that this place does upwards of 50 designs a day.
Wow, yeah.
Each design is on average 6 colours. That's a lot of screens, a lot of files, some reprints. Now, they've got 2 images. One for manual screens, one for auto screens. And their system works. Nothing wrong with it. And what they do is they get the artist to draw to draw the artwork, saves an EPS, and the EPS just drops into the iMage.
Yeah.
So the screen maker picks up an EPS, which is an artwork file, not a TIFF or anything, and just drops it into the iMage monitor itself. The iMage. Now I quite like this, and this has actually changed the way I'm going to advise people how to do things. So I'm learning all the time. That's why I love this job. I'm constantly learning. I have a set way of presenting files to a spider or a Delphic, and in my opinion, it's the most efficient way ever.
Right.
Until I've seen this work. Now I've seen this work, I have to change how I do things. So, in a nutshell, we draw a file in an AI, a master file. Then we save it as an EPS, encapsulated PostScript, so it's got all the PostScript information in it. Then we drop that EPS into a RIP. That RIP then spits out TIFFs, which are electronic files.
Yeah.
So really, we've got like 5 copies. And at the end, we've got individual TIFFs. Now, I'm the type of person that doesn't throw anything away. So I save all those TIFFs.
I do, to be fair.
I always have.
Folders.
I've got an archive folder, company A to company Z, and I have to keep them.
Mm.
And I looked at the way the iImage did it. So the iImage, let's call it a printer or an output device. And the iImage is the output device.
Mm.
Now, it asks you for the EPS. You throw it in. It gives you a little queue of your 6 colours in your design. You print them, and it goes. Disappeared. Done. So in effect, you've just pressed print. When you press print on your desktop computer, all that same thing happens, but you don't see any of those files. They get temporary files and they get binned.
Yeah.
So if you want to print your Illustrator file again, you open your Illustrator, press print, and out it pops.
Yeah.
The TIFF file, you never see.
No, it creates it and then deletes it.
It creates a
in the background before
PRG,
you
a
even
project
realise
file,
it.
or a PRT file, whichever it is,
Yeah.
and then it bins it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's actually a really clean, efficient,
Method.
non-messy way of creating an output. So I worked with a guy called Eddie from Exile in America, who absolutely superb guy. He was a tech, so he was doing all the technical stuff on the Spider, which is replacing belts and sensors and stuff, which, it's all electronic, it's above my head. Calibration, superb and everything. Then it came down to workflow, and I knew this was going to drop to me. That's why I'm here. I like workflow, I like to make things easy. I've got the artist upstairs who, let's say, is frightened of people.
I like him.
Creatively very good. Works entirely on his own. Won't accept help from anybody. He is a bottleneck that I'll have to address next time I visit. But works tirelessly. Does everything properly. Real on the spectrum. Has to do things artistically perfect.
Mm.
So
I like him.
I knew getting him to change how he prepares the files from the iImage to the Spider, this was going to be my fight. So yeah, I knew I'd have a problem with this guy, convincing him to change. I'd already primed him. We're going to have to change the way we do things. I looked like I'd asked to sleep with his wife. It was like, change? What are we changing? Why do we need to change it? It's not. What are we changing? Can we not keep the old system? Why do we have to keep it? Why is the new one better? What's wrong with the old one? And I knew I was going to get an issue. And Eddie, bless him, went up there, and I said, "Look, the rips on another computer. The screen guys used to rip in the stuff. I don't know how we're going to do it. You're going to have to maybe create a remote desktop window to go up here, because these are on Macs, that's on PC. It doesn't work here. This workflow is going to be really messy."
Yeah.
And about 4 or 5 hours, and I hadn't seen Eddie, and I hadn't been asked to go upstairs into the artwork department. And I go see the screen guy, who's an elderly guy. I say elderly, probably my age.
He's knocking on a bit then.
Late 50s, early 60s. Been doing it all his life, knows what he's doing, knows his way inside out, loves the iImage simplicity of picks up the artwork, drops it in. And I go and see him. I'm like, right, okay, so when it's time to rip some files, let me know. Oh, we've done it. You've done it? Yeah. And what about the guy upstairs doing the art? Yeah, completely happy. Show me what you do. Well, same as before. Look, there's my EPS. I drop it into this folder here. It spits it out here, and it appears on the Spider. I'm like, what a clean system. So hats off to Eddie at Exile in America, who's done a superb job of setting up this artwork workflow so that it mimics exactly what the iImage was doing, keeping everything nice and simple. I love it. Yeah, I have to change the way I do it, because I normally have a folder full of output. I have an input folder and an output folder.
Yeah.
So I drop my files into the input folder, and they get spat out into the output folder, and then I drag them across. No, this way that he set it up, superb way. And that's my default now. Okay. Still learning, Danny. Still learning. Yeah.
Well, things change, and you're the combination of so many different heads who have looked at a problem and have come up with different ways of fixing it, and you've absorbed the one that sort of sits in the middle that's the most efficient. because you see all these different combinations of. You must walk in, if you walk into 100 shops, you probably see 100 people do the same job, different
under different ways. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
But then you have the capacity then to look at all of them ways and say, do you know what? He got it spot on him. Let's aim for that one, and then you pass it on for a small fee.
The phrase I
Very
use
clever business, really.
is different method, same result. Is the phrase I use.
Yeah.
And we still get the same result. And in this particular shop, it worked out really, really well. I only hope that in 3-4 months' time, when I go back, that the machine, the output device, has stood up to what it's supposed to do. It took 6 minutes to image a screen using the old iMage.
Right.
Which that was part of my reason for my advice in changing. Not only is the pin registration system not up to scratch, but at 6 minutes a screen, there's your bottleneck. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean,
plus we had this. I don't know about you. So here's my theory. You're getting proper theory out of me today for fuck all.
we're very deep, aren't we?
Every press in a factory should have 150 screens available to it.
Yeah, I've heard this. You've said this before.
So this is my off-the-shelf sort of like 150
Default
screens
number.
available. So we've got 3 presses, so therefore we should have 450 screens available.
Yeah.
We don't. There's about 210 on the floor.
Right.
And this is seen as a cost-saving exercise. A screen's like 50 quid with all the bits on it. I can't afford another £5 worth of screens. Despite, I think, the consumable and you charge for them anyway, but apart from that...
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. You get your money back pretty quick as self.
I think you do, yeah. I think if you logged it, every time you charge 20 quid for a screen and you realise it's only cost you 5 quid's worth of equipment and 15 of it went towards paying for the metal and the plastic. So therefore, that had spawned a process in that when stock came, they only made the screens when the stock came in.
Yeah, right, I see.
Do you do this? Because the last thing you want to do is waste or tie up 6 screens on a job where there's no stock.
I would say no, I don't, to be honest. My screen rooms, especially now that Annie's here, it's just a revolving. Getting close. I do need to order some more screens, but I've realised over this past couple of weeks that we're getting close to. There's a rack full of at least a week's worth of printing ready for me to grab off a shelf now.
It's there.
Yeah, we're getting closer to that point. And she's still only doing part hours. Like, next week she's on part hours, but she's given notice in. And then, so next week's her official last week at her current job. And then the week after that, she's with me full time. So, but already with these partial hours, I've got a week's worth of screens downstairs now.
So you don't make screens anymore?
No, I don't touch them. I'm still advising her, I'm still teaching little bits here and there, and she's still coming to me to problem solve, which is exactly what I need. And we're getting closer and closer to the point where I'm having no involvement whatsoever. And I think,
has that increased your production?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Or just relieved your stress? Which way? Because which has most value?
I would say a bit of both, but I would say a bit of both, but don't forget this. She's only sort of part time at the minute. There's been a learning curve, and I'm not getting the full appreciation of what the extra production yet. I think give me another couple of weeks, and then ask me that same question, and I'll probably say, yeah, I'm getting loads more out the door, because it's just going to be a case of grab a screen and print, grab a screen and print, grab a screen and print.
Which is how it should be, yeah.
Which is what you need, yeah. I feel like it's a basic necessity. But yeah, as far as having 150 screens, 150, couple hundred per pressing sounds about right. Getting the stock in and then making them there and then is a massive slow, because then you're printing at 1 o'clock or something, by the time they've dried. Which is what I used to do.
This was a bottleneck in that the stock was lined up, and some had stickers on saying no art. And then some stock was here but not sorted, not staged, picked, pulled, whatever you want to call it, sorted, organised. Which meant that the screen guy was almost also the stock guy. Because he
Yeah, I
wouldn't,
see.
if there was an 8-colour job to do, he knew it was to do, he knew the deadline was tight, but with his system and with looking at the stock where he was based, which is next door to where the stock comes in, he knew the stock wasn't here, so he didn't make the screens.
Yeah.
Then when the stock dropped, he made the screens, which meant we're making screens on the day we're printing, which I always say is always a bad no-no.
It's just hours wasted, isn't it? Just hours not printing.
My advice in this situation is always, if the art is approved and the job is approved, make the screens.
Go make screens. Yeah.
That way then it gives the production floor flexibility. Some things don't always go right. People don't turn up, machines break, screens split, stock is wrong. And you're always looking for that job you can slot in. Right, take that off, put this next job on.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
something's messed up here. Well, I can squeeze this out because it's ready.
I used to say when I was a production manager, because the sales force used to try and drive when I printed a job.
Yeah.
I said, look, I'll do whatever you want me to do. If you wanted to tell me to put that job on now, I will. But if you let me decide, I'll get you 25% more work out.
Yeah, of course, exactly.
How does that work? How does that work? Well, because I'll put all the sleeves together. I'll put all the white flash whites together. You know, I don't want to be washing red, yellow, and blue squeegees, doing a job of brown, and then going back to red, yellow, and blue squeegees.
Yeah. 100%.
If I've got the foresight, if I can forecast and look far enough in front, I can start to group together things that are more efficient time-wise.
Yeah.
So if you let me plan the production, one of my almost also favourite sayings is don't let your dispatch book drive your production. Just because the due date's there doesn't mean it has to be done in that order. Because that can be the most inefficient way.
Yeah. Yesterday I printed nothing but black on white or pastel colour t-shirts. Black. But I thought, tie them together. I don't want to take the squeegee off to clean it to go put a white on. I just come did them all in one job, and then I got more jobs out the door yesterday than I would if I'd have done them in order of actual sale type of thing. And nobody got anything late. It's just I've reorganised it into my head in a more efficient way of doing it. Yeah. So I know exactly what you mean. And obviously, on a much bigger scale, the effect and the knock-on extra production of being that way is even bigger. I'm just me and Annie. So that, you know, I get a bit out of it. At a big shop full of people, Danny and Annie. Danny and Annie printing away. Sounds like a chuffing children's show, doesn't it?
I think that was Jamie and his magic torch. I think you were singing that.
It reminded me of that. What was that canal boat with little dolls?
Rosie and Jim.
Rosie and Jim. That's where I'll go with that. Danny and Annie on a canal boat. Do you know what I mean? Haley's been going to boat sales. It's got me thinking, what can I do? What can I do? Where can I go to these little events and stalls and stuff? And what can I flog? And I thought,
to work one.
Just start doing knockoff Metallica t-shirts again.
Back to where it all started.
Back to my roots. Oh dear. Sorry, I threw that conversation off there, didn't I?
No, you digressed. It's fine. We were all right. Danny and Annie were all right.
So I've got a question for this in particular shop. Now that we've got this system in place, we've got the two big autos, and then we've got 5 manuals. We're better not just selling them 5 manuals and getting another big auto. I'll be 3 big autos.
Did you read my report?
I must have done. That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yes, but do you know what, Danny? It's so difficult to get that point across. Now, you, not even stepping foot in that place, have seen that straight away just from my description. And it's absolutely the right thing to do. And we actually got a tape measure out. And he said, okay, let's have a look, see what room we've got. And I was looking at a 810 or a 1012 MHM.
Yeah.
So we could put it here. And we're measuring where the manuals are. And the manual guys are like, what's he doing? And he's like, right, well, what we do with the manuals? And I looked at him. And we put them in the car park. He went, what do you mean? I said, you won't need them. All right, well, I've got an old M&R. It's got an 810 M&R and these 1416 MHMs. He says, so if I said to you, money no object, budget, forget the budget, but I'm going to buy an MHM next. what would you replace? Would you replace the manuals or the M&R? This were a tough one. This were really a tough one. I actually said, put the M&R in the corner, use it as a tap to turn on and off, so don't sell it.
Yeah.
Put the MHM where the M&R is, so you've got 3 MHMs in a row.
Yeah.
And put your manuals in the car park. You will not need your manuals with 3 MHMs.
If you've got 3 MHMs churning out shirts, and if you happen to have an M&R that you could use for your obscurities,
sleeves. You were doing
labels.
some big long sleeves, yeah.
Ideal.
And it worked well on some big long sleeves.
Ideal for that. Ideal.
Yeah.
And of course you've always got it there to chuck normal pallets on. Worst case scenario, you're getting a bit overworked. But how many people are you paying for those 5 manuals? Surely you can condense it, which they don't want to be about, but the owners do.
To be fair, because he's a numbers guy, and it's been 3 months since my last visit, he started recording all the numbers. So we've recorded number of pieces, number of jobs, number of colours, which is the 3 things that we need to predict where we're going to go next. Not really to see how well you're doing, but it's a good indicator.
It's good to know.
It's good to know what machine to buy next. So the M&R, which was a 810, average number of screens, 3. So if you're going to replace it, don't replace it with another ASColour.
No.
The manuals, average number of colours was 5. Average number of pieces was, I think, below 60. About 62, something like that.
Yeah.
But they were only getting 3 and 4 jobs a day.
Oh yeah, they won't get too much out on that.
Not at ASColour.
No.
The issue is, the old guy that runs the manual department is fucking supremely talented and makes it look so easy. So he is an asset. He's the key to it all. He makes it look fucking simple. He'll throw a 6-colour job on there, print it, and not give it a minute's worth of stress, and the prints look fucking superb. Of course, they're flashed every colour, so they do look superb.
Yeah, it does help, doesn't it?
And he never complains, because he's just got this sunny disposition.
Yeah.
So the owner thinks that's the best way to do these. Whereas really what I'm saying is, right, okay, if I took all your manual guys and put them onto the presses, which are not running, then those 3 6-colour jobs that they do all day, you'll do before 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
We had this place. I'm concentrating on this place a little bit because it's the last one I visited, but it had so many what we call obvious problems. M&R, MHM. So MHM got the pins on the screens.
2 different systems.
23 by 31 screens, but there's no studs on. M&R, 23 by 31, no studs. Now you can put studs and still get them in the M&R.
Yeah, it's real,
but somebody at some point has said you can't.
Oh, so they just always assumed. So
now they've got a full, out of these 200 odd screens, they've got some with studs, some without.
Oh dear.
So I've got 2 big machines capable of eating work left, right and centre. I look in front of them, there's a box of 60 on one and 2 boxes of 100 on another. And the guys are like that.
I see, yeah.
I go over to the M&R machine. There are 23 screens prepped. There is about 4,000 pieces behind him. And he's working like a dog.
Man.
Yeah. Now, they can't pull work from one to the other because it'd be made on the wrong screens. I'm like, well, why don't you make everything for MHM and just put the MHM in the M&R? They won't fit. Come with me. Click, click. There, done. Now, if you really want to be pedantic about it, get a little 1/2-inch drill and drill the front of the... That looked bad.
I don't know, man. Could have done without that one, really, Tony, but... Got to put an 18 rating on this one now. Oh, God.
You can drill a hole in the front of. Oh my God! I saw a picture of me doing that. I went, "Oh no, that's wrong." Well, you found your little short clip.
I have, yeah. You know what's going on Instagram tomorrow, don't you?
So yeah, drill a little hole in the front of the bracket for the stud to sit in, and then no problem at all. But it does fit anyway.
I just stood the old screen room and then imaged the old screen room with same MHM system.
Yeah.
And then your M&R.
But then they lose the tri-lock.
Yeah, but if your M&R's reserved for... Now that you've flogged all your manuals and stuck another MHM in, and your M&R's reserved for sleeves, etc., you're probably not registering so much, if I had to guess. And maybe it's worth not having two sets of screens, two different systems, just to having to do a little bit of registering on M&R.
Close that shop. Come with me.
Anyway.
Close that shop, because that was my. Not only was that my advice, it was the owner came to that conclusion as quickly as you did. Because I said you will lose the tri-lock. You'll have to rely on the guy's skill to set it up. Well, what's the average number of screens on that machine? 3.
Do you know
So okay, you're gonna lose a little bit of time setting up 3 screens, but look at the lump of time you're gonna gain.
On that M&R, he's basically going to have the same registration system as me, because his screens are going to be, they're going to be lined up relative to the screen, and you're just going to have to do a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not. You can do it fairly quick. Once you know your screens are all the same.
Straight and central. You're going to get straight and central, 100%. So I asked the question, how accurate is the tri-lock? Which I already know this because I've asked everybody who I've ever used one. And I think I'm fair. I'm not being derogatory if I say 70%. This is coming from an Instagram poll. This is coming from my experience. This is coming from everybody that I've seen use one. It gets you that means it gets perfect registration 70% of the time. That doesn't mean it's bad. It means 70% of the time you get good enough registration to be able to go with a little tap. And what I said, well, that's the bit you're going to lose.
Mm.
So then, when I asked them, they said it was perfect. We never have to set up. We never have to move anything. It's perfect.
Right.
So then I watched them.
And it won't.
Well, they don't use it. They use it to get straight and central, then they look through the mesh.
Right, so, yeah.
So
they're not losing out. They're not losing a thing. If anything, just image it on your... I can't remember what you said. Was it not Sati? Was it the Spider? Image it on a Spider. Pin reg everything. And then on M&R, save it for your obscurities. And then if you have to do a tweak on, tweak a registration, it'll be straight and central. So in theory...
I did make them throw away the hammer, so they can still do registration tweaks. Precision adjustment tool comes through with an M&R.
Just put really massive chokes on all your...
Yeah, big chokes on all artwork.
Separations. Oh dear. So
I was the first job I went to, and we were talking about artwork. We were talking about bleed, choke, and spread. And he had such a filthy mind, I can't even say those again.
Yeah, yeah. I know where that's going now. Oh, jeez.
And that's a shout out to John as well, because he said exactly the same thing.
Did he? Well, I'm not surprised. So,
joke, spread, and bleed. That were it.
People into weird things, aren't they? As I've discovered recently, actually, for something I've been printing. But we can't talk about that one because it's a bit too X-rated. So, yeah, overall, good visit. And then, that was your last stop? Or was it the trade show?
No, Guatemala. Second, I've been practicing how to say it like they say it, and I can't. I just sound like a dick.
Guatemala. You've been reunited.
It's almost... It's
They don't
pronounced.
pronounce anything, do they?
So the G is a W.
Yeah, that's not what it's.
The T is a D and the E is loud.
There's no sharpness.
It's Guatemala.
Guatemala, yeah.
That's it, Guatemala.
Been reunited with the old sock dryer, I see.
We had an upgrade actually.
Oh,
Little
right.
buddy was still there. This was a Vastex.
Oh, well, those Vastex dryers seem to be okay. Seem to be quite
Yeah,
popular.
it did all right. It did all right. I mean, I was faster than the dryer, but
Well,
other than that, it
obviously,
was
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I had a glamorous assistant in my mate Rodrigo who was putting the shirts on the dryer. One on the dryer, one on a box. One on the dryer, one on a box. One on the
Yeah,
dryer, one...
that's my system.
Yeah.
I have to wait for
dryer.
dryer. So instead of stopping printing, I just let them pile up and then we go through as and when in between type of thing.
Well, you saw that I put a flash on my unload station.
Yeah, well, I have that.
On a trolley.
Yeah.
I know, exactly the same setup you've got.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Only I had two of the flashes in between.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Which means they come off at press dry anyway. They're not cured, but they're dry.
They're not cured, but they're dry. Yeah.
You could, in theory, turn dryers on at the end of the day if you wanted.
And have a curing session, yeah.
Yeah, which is almost... Sometimes it's more efficient.
I wanted to be in there for a minute, and the length of the dryer belt was about 3, maybe 4 fingers.
about a chest print then.
It wasn't very big at all, so it would have taken 3.5 years to put them through. So yeah, we did it carefully. We had a good show, really good show. It was the apparel sourcing show. Second year we've done it, really successful. Sold a press from it, which is always a good thing.
That's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole point of it. Big store. I think he had it was 50 meters by 7.
Wow, that's a big old spot.
That's almost as big as MHM had at Fespa.
Yeah, that's a big space.
Huge.
MHM had the biggest space at Fespa.
Yeah, they had a big space.
Screen printer, anyway. Screen printer.
Yeah. So it was a good, successful show as always.
Did you run into anybody that knew the famous Tony Palmer from Chippy Tea?
From Chippy Tea, a couple, not many. It's always when they call me Palmer. I think it's something to do with the naming tradition. How your family names your first name and your surname.
All right,
all that.
It comes first.
And somebody did come up with that. Palmer, like I'm at school. I'm going to get thrown in a bin. So a couple of people did know me from there, so that was nice.
Oh, that's nice. Always a nice touch. I'm looking forward to doing another trade show next year, whether it maybe not Fespa, maybe something different. Don't know.
There's a big one on at the minute called Drooper, but probably not much for us. It's more printing rather than textile printing.
Itmar was one to visit, but that's not for a few years.
It's every 4 years, yeah. It's in Hanover next, which is where Lucas is at Timeless, so that'd be good.
Oh, well, if we get to that one in a couple of years, we can see Lucas.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go for a beer.
Oh, you don't go for one beer with Lucas.
Right. I'll go for one beer with fucking any of us, if we're honest, do we? Vespa's proof of that.
I wore most of mine.
Yeah, that's true. You took yours back to the hotel, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. So, overall, good visit, and you're back home. Buzzing to be home to see your Jack and the kids and the missus. And the birds in the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually got 2 and a bit weeks. This week's pretty much gone. And then I've got 2 weeks and I'm back in America again. We're doing Print Fest. So Print Fest is another seminar up in New England, in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And this is again another... it's for automatic screen printers, it's not for manual screen printers. It's how to get the best out of
peasants.
No, it's how to get the best out of an automatic press on everything from, mesh selection, artwork selection. We've actually got some good speakers. We've got Michelle Moxley. We've got guy who's just on Instagram as travelling screen printer, John McGee.
That rings a bell.
Now, I've known John a long time. He's only just become travelling screen printer. He changed his name. He was John McGee, Avian Specialist Inks.
Oh, is that the guy?
Yeah,
Right.
beard, nice, lovely guy. Johnny Hammer and Grind, I think he used to be called.
Right.
But he changed his name to Travelling Screen Printer, and he's found a lot of archives from from old printers, and he does a lot of work with old printing techniques. But he'll be there. Rick Roth from Ink Kitchen. We're doing it as his shop at Mirror Image, so it's at a live shop.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
It should be good, yeah. That's June 20th, something like that, 18th to 20th.
It's a shame nobody's ever done out like that over here, isn't it?
We need to do something, don't we? I think
don't spoil it. Don't spoil the surprise. That was an inside joke.
I think it falls on our shoulders, Dan.
Wink, wink is what I would try to get out of you.
So it'll be good to have this to have a seminar, and then that'll start my tour of America again for another 3 or 4 weeks, and then back. I'm grounded in August.
Grounded? What do you mean?
I'm grounded, yeah. I promised not to fly. I promised I'm not to fly in August because I'm going to be a granddad. So,
I was about to say, is that when it is? Oh, you'll.
Yeah.
That'll be bloody lovely for you, mate. That'll be lovely.
It will be if she has it early, then I can fuck off again.
Fuck off again. Oh, dear.
I need a date. I need dates and times. None of this. It's sometime in August crap. So I've got a schedule to keep. Yeah, I need to know what day it's going to be, and so I can get organised and plan around it.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh well, it's a bit of time off in August, and you try and chill out and try not to.
I know, yeah. Chilling out doesn't pay bills, though, does it?
Yeah. No, it don't. Speaking of pay bills.
The print fest will be good. We're going to sort of cover automatic screen printing, which will be a lot of wet-on-wet printing.
Yeah, I'm just about to bring you back into that.
It's still... we know each other well now. Been doing this a long time. It still eludes some people.
Well, I had a revelation. I fell into the trap a little bit. Not always, but a little bit of falling back on my flash. Because that's what I've done for 11 years, falling back on my flash, and it's almost a get out of jail safe.
It's easy. If it's there, I use it. If it's there,
yeah. But at the same time, actually, you'd think it would almost be a cheat code, but it isn't necessarily. It can actually cause more problems, especially when you're using water-based Aquaflex. And what I found was I was cooking my white, so by the time it had done some colours and come back around, the next white, when the white started to print again, it was like sticking and drying.
In the mesh. Sticks in the mesh, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And then you hear that horrible grandma's kissing sound, and you just cause yourself more problems. So I've been sort of forcing myself a little bit again to do as much wet on wet as I can. Really, I should be printing my V2 white, flashing it. But then the colours really should all be wet and wet. I don't really want any excuse for not. So it's something that I've been focusing on and trying to learn and get better at. So this is a really good topic to talk about because I can selfishly get as much out of you as I can for free.
Right. It isn't a secret, okay? It's what I call like the
5 hills to die on. Fundamentals.
Basics. 5 hills to die on. It's like the space shuttle. There you go. There's a new one for you.
This is a new one.
Space shuttle. So I can remember space shuttle, right, where they used to go up to orbit with this space shuttle and come back down again, and we thought it'd be the future of space travel and everything be superb and great. And as it turns out, we've fucking forgotten how to do it. So we're back to rockets again.
Well,
we've forgotten how to do it now. Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick's been dead a while, hasn't he? You have. Coincidence.
It's this. We always used to print wet on wet. So in my early days of the big machines that used to go around, but didn't even have a stop button, the old precision hydraulic ovals, the whole arm used to come up and down like that. And
yeah.
You'd lift the arm up, but the flash wouldn't lift up, so you'd just keep going round to stop burning the palette.
That blows my mind. It was a standard, especially when the inks had such a high or a low viscosity, very thick. They didn't have the technology.
Sticky.
Yeah, you've got the build-up even more than you do now. Like we've got the ink technology now where build-up is minimised, at least. Whereas back then, I'm sure it was like laser cement.
It was horrible. we only had one flash, and we had to get it all done. 6, 8, 9, 10 colours, and we had to get it done. And it starts with the mesh selection. People think you can put, you can change the mesh selection according to the opacity that you want. That's your first mistake. You cannot. Okay, if you drop that mesh below a 90 or a 230, if you count using strange things like Americans do, you are going to get problems. You're going to get too much ink to deal with. Now, dealing with too much ink is either sticking, bleeding, ripping off, or building up. Whichever one it is, it's fundamental. Its starting point is there is too much ink to start with.
So the first bullet point there was 90s as a minimum. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, Tony's only rule. Okay, when I go into shops and I train people what to do, I educate them on all their choices so that their intelligence helps them to make the right decision based on number of pieces, type of material, whether Aquarius is in Venus or not, whichever it is, but you have all the information available to you. I only have one rule. If you are printing more than 2 colours touching on top of a white base, those colours must be 90 or higher. That's 230, 280 or 305, 90, 100 or 120. They cannot be lower. If they are lower, you must flash. So what that means is you can go lower if you are either flashing or last colour. So the last colour that you use, you can put anything you want because you're going down the dryer.
Yeah. And you want
if you have a particular
that
yellow,
bold.
If you want a yellow that you've got to have bright, but you've also got top white, then you can drop the mesh on that yellow to make it brighter, but you must flash it. And if you can't afford to flash it, you don't have one, then you must increase your base. The brightness of a colour is not dictated by how much ink goes down. The brightness of a colour is dictated by the strength of the base.
The base, yeah.
So that's where we start. We start with mesh count, mesh selection. I was asked to print some prints last week, and they made them on 77s. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm skillful, right? I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a long time, and I can pretty much make everything work, even if I cheat. But I can't make that work if they're all on 77s. I can maybe get you about 10 good prints, then it's going to sound like your granny's kiss.
Yeah.
So I made them remake them. And they were gutted because, they didn't have that many. They had to strip some screens. It put the day back. It was a job they wanted to do. I was like, you've got to remake it. So when we remade them, we stuck them in and we got no pick-off. We started and then we finished. We didn't start, stop, clean, start, stop, cool down, start, stop, heat up. None of that shit. We started, we printed them, and we fucked off home. Yeah. Nice and simple. And that's where it starts. It starts on mesh count. People have forgotten that because over the years, the skill dilution has been such that we forget why do we use a 90? I don't know. Well, can we use a 77? Yeah, sure. Why not? The next key factor is colour order. Colour order is smallest to largest. Smallest area to largest area.
Do you know, that's an interesting thing, but I never sort of looked at it that way. So I'm glad
we don't want a big, hot, thick, sticky area of ink down first. We want the little tiny highlights. We want the little greys, the little blues, the little tiny areas first.
They go first.
They go first. There's less ink to pick off, less ink to manage. And then we fall to the squeegee selection. And the golden rule is the same as in life. We start hard, we finish soft.
Is that right?
We start hard, you finish soft.
So run me through a scenario.
Let's do a share screen. This is sort of a free seminar session. You're getting this, don't you? Let me see if I can bring something up.
This is available to buy on Tony's website.
It actually is now.
Oh, good. It's about time.
People have as well. People have bought it.
Well, I've been telling you for about 2 years you need to put it all on.
I know, yeah. Right, let's see if sharing the screen works. Let me get rid of all the crap I've been looking at on my granny porn websites.
Oh, me and Haley've been watching this documentary on Discovery Plus.
Didn't know where that were going then.
It's about this little lass that was adopted at 6 years old, and it's very debatable if this was a little lass or like a, I don't know what the correct word is, dwarf, midget,
Small person.
a small person, as it was actually an adult pretending to be a 6 year old, and she went on. It sounds like she were going to threaten to kill them all and stuff, and she was a crazy psychopath. Oh, the parents were psychopaths and they lied about the whole thing. Discovery Plus, really good. You should watch it. Anyway,
Right,
screen print.
can you see that?
I can't see that.
So, can you see my
Everybody's
mouse?
just press print screen.
Can you see my mouse or not?
I can see your mouse here.
Yeah. So, colour number 1 is your flash.
So that's your V2, is that? I can tell by blade. That's a soft blade, low angle.
65, 90,
10.
65. I've got a 10-degree angle, but really, it's whatever makes it look nice.
I want to say, because I find 15 works. You get a bit of opacity on your base. So I do things differently, don't I? So
yeah, but it's whatever makes it look nice. Whatever you need. If you've got a toned base, it'd be a 10. If you've got an open vector base, it'd be a 15. Whatever it looks nice. You've got freedom of range.
If you've got a 15, you don't necessarily need to follow your top colour with 15, 20. You can go back to 10 on your top colours.
So, here, on my first colour, it's yellow. Yeah?
Yep.
So I'm going to use my hardest blade. I'm actually going to make this 5.
Oh, wow, flipping hell.
I'm going to make that dead straight and hard. Remember, like in life, we start straight and hard, we finish soft and flaccid.
The old back to traps and bleed and stuff.
So, that first colour. That's right, it's the smallest area. I'll also use my lightest colour here. If I've got 2 colours the same, I'll pick the lighter colour.
Yeah, this is something I wanted to come back to slightly, because you were mentioning the coverage is what determines the colour order. If that yellow, we're assuming, is just a couple of highlight dots.
Yeah.
And then the blue, maybe a couple slightly bigger highlight dots. So what you're saying to me is I'm not going to say the white, the pink might be the open area. Or I guess the white might be the open area.
Pink and white, yeah. Red, pink and white.
So if that's the case, that's it, black and white. At no point does colour come into the equation. Because my old-fashioned way...
If I've got a choice, I'm going to go lighter colour to darker colour. If I've got 2 areas the same... Say if I'm going lightest to darkest, right,
so
and I've got two moons. Same coverage, same area, completely same area. One colour is grey, one colour is blue. I'm going to put the grey before the blue.
Right.
Because when the grey picks off, when the lighter colour picks off, and I lose, let's say, 10% of the shade, because I'm losing 10% of the top layer of ink, I don't notice it.
No, you won't see it.
Whereas if I lose 10% of a blue, it's going to go a shade lighter. I'm going to notice it.
Yeah. So coverage is priority, and then in cases of equal measure coverage, lightest first, which is the way I've sort of always done it anyway. Lightest first. It's sort of, you learn that quite early, don't you?
Yeah. So then, if my first colour was a 5 with a hard blade, my second colour is 10 with a hard blade, because I'm trying to protect thy neighbour.
Yeah.
I'm trying to protect that yellow underneath there.
Mm.
So it's got a hard blade, not another 5, it's going to be a 10. Then as I come to colour number 4, printing my green, now I've got 2 colours underneath here to try and protect. So now I'm going to go to a 15-degree angle, and I'm going to go to a slightly softer blade.
Yeah, it's not a big jump, is it? 65,
no,
70,
slightly softer. If I continued with the green blade, there's chances it would rip that yellow off.
Yeah.
So then as I take another step, now my next step, I'm going definitely a softer blade. Softest blade I've got. And I've got 3 steps from the end. So I'm going to go 20, 25, 30. This is not reflecting how it prints. This is reflecting how it's now a 30-degree angle with a soft blade to protect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colours underneath.
Yeah.
You can see that, yeah?
Mm. So I ran some prints, not yesterday, day before, and I had a bad night's sleep. I was totally knackered, and things just weren't clicking. I was making silly mistakes. And I was printing black on white, believe it or not. Black on white. And I chucked my screen in, I put my black ink in, I did my test print, and what happened was the squeegee ran over as normal, and instead of it clearing the mesh, it printed, and you could see the ink was still pulled up in the open mesh. It was almost like it flooded it. I was like, what the hell have I done here? And I'd been messing about with me off contact and stuff, so I reset it all, tried again, and I couldn't get it right. And that day was wasted. I went to bed next day and I came in and I looked at my squeegee and I realised I put my V2 squeegee in the wrong head. So I was printing with my softest blade, and they weren't hard enough to basically clear.
We're bending too much.
Yeah. So what we're looking at step number 6 and 7, which you've just took off the screen, it concerns me, but will those blades, those softer blades, even clear the screen?
Yeah, because they're not printing onto cotton like you were yesterday. They're printing onto a white, shiny plastic base.
See where you're going with that.
If at any point I put a flash in there, so I'm increasing the angle as I go down the order.
Yeah.
And I'm decreasing the hardness. So I'm going from hard to soft.
Yeah.
If at any point I put a flash in that system, I start again with my hard straight blade.
Right.
Flash is a reset.
That's interesting.
So if I had a yellow in there, right, that maybe I want to be bright, so I have dropped the mesh count to a 77.
Yeah.
I've hit my soft blade at the end of my 3 wet colours. I've gone hard, medium, soft, make it really simple.
Yeah.
And I've gone 10, 15, 20 on the angle. Then a flash, because I want that yellow to be protected.
Yeah.
Then my next colour on top of the flashed yellow, after a cooldown station, can go back to being a 5-degree hard blade again. There's nothing to rip off.
No, that's a very good.
And all my choices are based on protecting the previous colour. We go on a lot about more ink, less ink, with the changing the angle to get more ink. But when we're doing wet on wet printing, we're trusting that the artwork's good and the mesh selection's good and the colour order's good. So now my blade selection is all about protecting the previous colour. It's not about how much ink I put down.
Yeah, I've got to reassess some things. My press is almost set up, ready to go. But it's actually, now that we've had this conversation, it's ready to go for flash. It's ready to go, assuming I'm flashing every colour. So what I'm basically trying to tell you is, I can't remember the 60, 90, whatever. I forget these numbers. But basically, I've got a soft blade in for my base, and then I've got hard blades filling the rest of the press. And that as a standard has been the way I've run it, and it's worked.
The last colour I'll rip off.
So I did a job, 4 or 5 colours, got to about 40 odd shirts, and then I started seeing little patches of the previous colour pulling up. And I thought, fuck's sake, I've done all this work, and now all of a sudden. And what I actually did is I adjusted the angle. I think I made the angle more. I actually made it more straighter. That appeared to fix the problem and get me through the last handful of shirts or whatever. But now that I've had that,
if I put a hard blade here where this red blade is,
yeah,
with all my skill and all my knowledge and all my 35 years of experience, it'll rip off like a bitch.
Right.
There's nothing I can do to stop it. But the only reason it's ripping off is because I put a hard blade in there, which is aggressively pushing down.
Yeah.
I have to softly push down. I have to find a balance where it actually prints, but it's not disturbing the previous one.
Yeah. And you can't compensate that with less pressure, travel.
Did you press stop sharing then?
No. It just go off.
It stopped, yeah.
Yeah. I thought you'd just done it on purpose.
Because I'm a knob. No. I've proved this point several times. People say to me, oh, why is that not written down anywhere? Why does nobody tell us that when we start? Why is that such a secret? And it's not a secret. It's just that we've forgotten. With the onset of more flashers, people are buying machines with more flashers. It means we need less skill. It means that mesh count's not as important. Because if we're flashing every 2 colours, it doesn't matter.
No. Oh,
But if we get used to the fact that actually it is designed to print wet on wet up to 10 colours.
yeah.
Now the water-based isn't. The water-based I get about 4 and I have to flash the fucker. Because it's not the same ink technology.
No,
it does start to dry and go sticky and start to rip off. But we can still use that technique. You know, if we've got 4 wet colours of water-based, we don't want to make the 4th one, the last one, a hard blade, because it'll rip one of the first 3 off. From soft to hard. Start soft, start hard, finish soft. Just like your normal Saturday night.
Can we get into flooding in a little bit more depth than I think anybody usually gives it? Because flooding, usually the topic's as deep as, if it's water-based, flood a thick layer of it top. If it's plastisol, not so much. But I'm curious on how can I best describe this. I might have to do a bit of a live Photoshop demonstration. Let me set up a little screen share. So create.
I have some strange opinions on flooding, so this should be interesting.
Window, Photoshop. Right. Can you see that? Because all I can see is myself.
Yeah, I can see it.
Right, let's a little rectangle. Thin little rectangle.
You're drawing in Photoshop?
Yeah, I'm regretting it. I should have just done it paint. It'd been a lot easier. Whoa, where's it gone? I'll edit this so it's a little bit more fluent. That
Slick.
there is mesh. That's my representation of mesh.
Yeah.
And then if I draw another box, mesh, emulsion. And this emulsion obviously is slightly thicker than the mesh. So we've got a dam, if you like. We could call it a dam. And if we print in water-based, basically, as ink is going to flood over the top, and it might just sort of seep into this channel a little bit, like that. I wish I had gone over the top of me. Over the top of me, like that type of thing. So that's a water-based flood. I've always sort of thought, printing plastisol from the very early days, when I flood, I'm not going like that. I'm actually flooding to the point where it's going like that and like that. So I'm almost filling the dam. I ain't got a big thick layer off the top. I'm almost clearing the screen without pushing ink out here. Do you see what I'm saying? And what that produced on a manual for me, flood, fill the channel, and then when you actually print, you're putting more ink down. So you're not getting any sort of graining or any graining or any dots or any, you're getting a more opaque print in one pull. Am I completely wrong in that train of thought? Because that's what I've done for this. Could be a very good example of skill dilution. That's how I've always done it. And now that I've got the auto, where I'm not actually doing that, I'm sort of flooding over the top, I'm starting to think, do I apply that same methodology that I've done all these years with plastisol? And do I need to bring me flood bar down a bit so that I'm flooding and filling that channel? Do you know what I'm saying? Does any of that make sense?
It makes sense. Flooding fills the holes with inks, printing empties the holes of ink.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is true, but it's the same for water-based as it is for plastisol. They both sit like that drawing's in front of us now.
So regardless of if you pull your flood bar or you squeeze it enough to not have a channel of ink here, and it's just sort of filling.
Gravity will let it fill that whole cavity, that whole open area.
So if you set your flood, plastisol or water-based regardless, to sort of something like that,
Yeah.
that hole will fill up anyway.
Yeah.
You don't
You see what you just drew there?
Yeah.
Draw that again, but more exaggerated with it hanging down.
What? This
So draw it again, but hang it down. See how it comes below? If you draw it so that it comes below, yeah,
that's where you're
that's a bad heavy flood.
Yeah, that's where you're going to start getting spread and splodges.
You start going to get spread, and that's from pushing too much pressure on the flood, pushing the ink, pushing 120 grams into a 100-gram hole.
Yeah, you can go too far.
Yeah. So as long as you're not doing that,
yeah,
the ink will naturally fill those holes.
So it might just be something that I've done over years, slightly unnecessary.
Yeah. Plus, when your squeegee comes along, there is a wall of ink in front of the squeegee.
Yeah.
And that is also what you're emptying out of those holes that you're creating.
Yeah, I guess when you think of it that way, you've almost got like a roll effect and the squeegee. I'm doing it with my hands, you can't see, can you? That squeegee, that roll sort of gets smaller,
that's exactly
smaller. And that rolling effect is almost filling the mesh type of thing.
It is. It's exactly that. And then the natural tension of the screen lifts it and leaves behind that little pattern that you made, the cavity.
Right. So what we're saying is, if I delete this entire section, nobody will be any wiser.
No, the flood is important. Again, we go back to those old machines that used to use the weight of the flood bar as a flood. So these were pieces of metal on floating pegs. So as it came up the screen, it pushed the metal up the peg. So your constant flood pressure wasn't a pressure; it was just the weight.
Oh, just the weight of the bar.
The weight of the flood bar, yeah.
Yeah, there was just enough weight.
It floated on a peg. Yeah.
Right. So it just ran along with the mesh with a little bit of extra weight to create a bit of a dip.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, so that's closer to what I was describing. Because that wouldn't have created a layer over the top. That would have
scraped it.
Mesh. Scraped it, that's the word. So that's I guess that in a nutshell is I used to scrape flood. And it's not necessarily what you want to be doing.
There's a danger of getting hanging a blob of ink out of that mesh. That's the only danger, really. And then you've got too much ink.
That's the danger, but I'm going to stand by my statement that flood will produce you'd get a better print on a manual. Whether that applies on the auto, I've not actually tried. But I know if I scrape flooded to the point that I wasn't causing any splodging, just enough to, fill the mesh, fill the channel.
The holes with ink, yeah.
I know that I'd only have to hit it once because there'd be enough ink in that channel to release it one time, and there's no graining, there's no dot, there's no lifting the t-shirt, and you're like, oh shit, I can see all the way through this ink. No, that was a solid film of ink, and I've only hit it once.
Yeah,
that's my theory, and I thought, flood, nobody ever talks about it. Surely there's a little bit more to this conversation. And actually, no. Really.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I think you either flood or you don't. You can overflood. Underflood would leave holes.
Yeah.
If we use the analogy of how much weight of ink you put into that hole, and we say it's 100 grams, then obviously my analogy of putting 120 grams in that hole means it leaks out. Your theory is you're only putting 80 grams into that 100-gram hole. And therefore not getting as good a coverage. So, if my theory stands, then so does yours, really. But it's very difficult, I think, to not put enough ink in the holes. You'd have to be really, really fast with hardly any pressure. But so, you've still got that roll of ink coming towards on the squeegee.
Yeah, which finds its way through the mesh anyway. Skill dilution. It's learning things off your own back, learning how to print yourself, and then carrying it with you. Some I've carried.
This is what we've always done.
Yeah, and this is where things over the years, over an entire industry, change and adapt and dilute, if you like. And wet on wet, that's a really good example. Because it's not been a necessity so much, things have changed.
The solution to we can't get this wet on wet to print since Johnny left, we can't get wet on wet printing to work. Okay, what's the solution? I'll buy you another flash. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
And then Johnny number 2 leaves, and since you bought that flash, and Johnny 2's left, we can't get wet on wet printing to work. What's the solution? I'll put another flash in. Yeah, that'll do it. Now I can use any mesh, any blade, any angle, any pressure, because I'll just flash the fucker.
Yeah. Well, you're almost reduced to, does it clear the screen? That's all you need to know about your blade. A nice soft blade from your V2, a nice hard blade from your plastisols. That's what you reduce
I get into trouble for this statement, and I will get into trouble for this statement, but I will say there's a direct correlation, a direct link between the skill level and the number of flashes on a press.
Right.
And I will get into trouble for that. But the more flashes, the lower the skill level. And the less flashes, the higher the skill level.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that I only ever use one flash. I ran a job with 3 flashes the other day. Why? Because it was there. They were nice and easy.
If it's there, use it.
Yeah.
It's one of those, isn't it?
Even in Guatemala, we ran iron, base, flash, base, flash. So I've used 2 flashes already. So I've got 2 bases to make the colours look bright.
Mm.
So now I've got 3 colours, flash, 3 colours. So it's an 8-colour job. So my 3 colours were hard, medium, soft, flash. Hard, medium, soft, end.
Yeah, I think
and I got no picking off, no problems, no issues, no granny's kiss, no nothing.
Yeah. Well, I've learned something there. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that into practice, and I'm pretty sure I'll get better results out of me printing as a result of that.
You'll be surprised. Always have a hard, medium, soft blade available, and if you're running down wet on wet, start hard, finish soft.
Yeah. You've got to trust the principle and the basics and the fundamentals. You've got to trust them, because it'd be easy for me to say, that won't work, because it's not how I've always done it, and it's not the feel I have. The feel for me is, if I want to clear plastisol ink, I need an harder blade to, clear it, to get a nice clean. And the idea of chucking in a 60, 90, 60 to clear a plastisol at the end, to me it's like I'm just going to smudge it over the top. It's not even going to clear the mesh in my head. But obviously that's totally wrong. And it's a case of,
if we've got everything else right, we get the base right. Yeah,
trust the process.
And of course, if you've got a black in there, try and get it on early in the print order.
Yeah,
well, the black goes directly onto garment.
That will elude quite a few people, because it's often used as I think the phrase is a key, something to basically make up for off-reg.
Lock everything in, which is how we used to do it when we were cutting films from Rubylith, and we had to compensate for the skill of the artist following a line. When we were setting films using glass, and sometimes we were making the film bigger than we drew it, we were actually enlarging.
Right.
And when we had machines that we used to have to set up with a T-bar and a hammer, we needed that key line. That key line was our saviour.
Yeah.
It sat half over the top of all the colours. It hid a myriad of misregistration, and it made our life easier. Well, now we don't use Rubylith, we use computers. We can get perfect butt registration. We don't have to use bleed, choke and trap. Spread. Bleed, choke and spread.
Trap.
That's
probably fits into it, probably.
Scare at Born Scum has ruined me for that. We don't have to compensate for bad registration, because we've got good manufactured presses now that we don't set up with a hammer.
Yeah.
So the reason for putting the black last is historical, not theoretical. It's not done for a real reason. It's done for a historical reason, and that's how we've always done it. We always put that there to tie everything in. Well, if we didn't have to tie anything in, where could we put it? Well, anywhere. So if I could put it anywhere, I'd rather put it somewhere where it's not going to where it can't affect anything.
Yeah.
If I put it first, it can't get picked off, because the stuff that gets picked off is stuff on a white base. You can't pick off a white shirt, a black ink that's stuck to white cotton.
No,
It's stuck like shit to a blanket. It doesn't lift.
Yeah.
But if you printed it onto white, shiny plastic vinyl, it would lift off.
Yeah. So
Which
you
is, in effect, what a white base is.
So you would often print your black even before your white base?
Yes.
Yeah, because why would you not?
Yeah.
It's just cotton, isn't it?
Yeah.
And your white base will sit perfectly comfortable on top of... I mean, you won't put it on top of black.
It sits
but
to
you
the
know what I
side
mean.
of it.
Yeah, it sits
It
alongside.
sits side by side, yeah.
And if
It's
there's
a
any
butt fit.
bleed, the black's so soft, it's not going to cause any issues anyway.
No.
Well, I think we've
Get it
learned
out of the
something
way.
today.
It's one less colour to step on.
Right. Well,
When you touch one colour on another, the phrase I learnt at Merch Shops with Bryce was "step on."
yeah,
Where
step
you
on.
step on a wet colour. Up until then, I've been print, hit, lift, rip, but stepping on a wet colour is a good explanation.
Yeah.
And if you can reduce the amount of colours that you step on by putting the black, which is not going to get ripped off of anything, early on, it's one less colour to step on.
I think the ingredient I was missing were blades. Angles, pressure, colour theory, coverage.
Mesh selection.
Ticked that box. I think the key ingredient were blades, and that's what I was getting wrong. It's got me so far. I've done plenty of wet on wet, and I've had some really good results. But I think that one last step is going to be to be fair, that's probably the most important step, actually, if we're honest, apart from mesh.
Well, if you get the mesh wrong, the blades mean fuck all.
Yeah,
if you get the blades wrong, the mesh means fuck all.
Yeah.
So it's like this. We go back to these tiny little steps that we make. What's the phrase?
Marginal
tiny
gains.
little there you go. The tiny little steps that we make. Luke is arsehole by now, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Did he say fundamentals?
He's driving on M62 as well, so see him at New soon.
So yeah, it's a matter of it's not just mesh selection, it's not just blade selection, it's not just pressure selection, it's not just colour order, it's combining all those into the overall picture.
Yeah. Marginal gains, little boxes. Got to tick all those little boxes and then you'll crack it. Right, we've done an hour and a half exactly. Well, an hour and 9 seconds.
It's not bad for us.
139 seconds.
And you out of the wee yet?
No, I hadn't. I've done well. I've done well. Well, I mean, you'll think I had a wee.
It's changed you.
Do you want to name one last little tidbit before we go? Because it's ever so troubled me.
Yeah,
I had an order lined up for 20,000 prints, and it fell through.
Oh dear!
Fucking gutted, because that was a tremendous amount of work. It was colour on top of white, so it was the easiest thing on planet to print. No flash required. T-shirt on, T-shirt off. Me and Annie stood in front of the press, moved the flash out that way. On, off, on, off, on, off, off. Still,
how long do you think that would have taken you?
I'd planned like a week and a half. I thought I could do it in a solid a week's worth of absolutely killing myself. I thought I could get it done.
So production days. How many production days?
All 5. Well, 7 production days. But I honestly think I could have done it in 5.
3,000 a day. 3,000 a day. 7 production days is a good fair.
Yeah.
A fair prediction for your shop.
Yeah. I think I could have done it in 5, if I'm honest. But I what's the word? A conservative.
All right.
A conservative prediction, an estimate that I'd got in my head was 7 days. But actually, I really thought I could do it in 5 if I absolutely killed myself. The big thing's not so much for printing. It's the logistics of having that many garments in this small space. Printing them, then stacking them and moving them about, shifting them up and downstairs.
Is a pallet 2,500?
Something like that, yeah. I think it's somewhat close.
Well, it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 times 72. What's that?
God, don't ask me. You've got a maths degree.
1,800. So you're looking at 2,000 a pallet. So that's 10 pallets.
Oh.
Where are you going to put 10 pallets? Front and back or just front?
I'm just going to do an Alex and just work that out when I got here. No, it was front and back as well. So it was 10,000 t-shirts, but it was
Okay, so it's only
front
5
and back.
pallets.
Yeah. It's still a lot. Still a lot for this space. Have I done 5,000 in this space before? I think I have. I think I've had 5,000 or 6,000 in here before. I know I had it in the other shop, or even smaller. So
why did it fall through?
It was all lined up, and I think whatever it was, I don't actually know what it was. It was all very secretive in terms of what they were for. If they needed permission to distribute them, so I'm assuming it was some sort of event or something along those lines.
Maybe it was Max's Monaco win.
Fuck off! I'm off. Yeah. Tune in next week when Max is back to winning ways. I wouldn't have asked, to be honest. Honestly, I'm happy to watch Max sort of fight his way through the grid, but not at flipping Monaco. I'll never get those hours in my life back. God, that was horrendous. Honestly. Well, literally for you. You fell asleep, didn't you?
I missed it. I fell asleep
God.
before it started.
Awful. I've discovered a YouTuber called RPM, and he has a very comical. He's almost like the Chubby Brown of F1 on YouTube, and he does these videos that are absolutely hilarious. You'll have to look him up. He's very 18 rated, but honest to God, you've never looked at Formula One from such a comical perspective. So I recommend you watch that channel. Right, so we've done a screen print talk. We've got his Formula One in, so Luke can take his shot. I'm sure we've ticked plenty of other bingo boxes.
Yeah.
It's time for me to do some printing.
Yeah, get some work done. And I got on with doing NAFL.
Yeah, have a chill day. You deserve it.
Yeah.
You're a grafter. You never stop. What about this office of yours? You got that to do?
Fuck that. Shut the door on it, mate. Shut the door on it. That's my plan this week. And I've got to Thursday now and I haven't even opened the door yet, so...
No. Well,
it'll get done. I've had to cut my edge and cut my grass and sort my car out, take my car in to be fixed. And then done. I'm not going to have a car for a bit. I'm going to see how I go without a car.
I've just done a week. My van went last week. Starter motor went on it. You don't realise how much you rely on. You take it for granted. Once it's gone and you've got to rely on lifts or you just can't go anywhere. It's horrendous. You completely
push iron though, right? Oh no, you moved,
now.
You?
Not now. It's a good couple of hours on bike now. 15 minutes in van, but it'd be a shift, an hour or two, I reckon. On push bike.
Would it?
I mean, I've never. Probably have done it in me.
So how are you getting into work and back? Oh, really?
No, it's fixed now. But
all right.
The majority of last week I was without a van, so I was just catching lifts here and there. My mum, my dad, earlier drop us off sometimes. It's just horrendous. You just take it for granted.
Yeah.
Back on road now, though, so all is well.
Right.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
You happy with that? If you're happy with that, leave us a note in comments, because I thought that was quite informative. I learnt a bit, so I thought that might have been a good one.
Go back to our winning ways.
We have.
Yeah. Right, well, so, if you did like what you just endured, give us a like and a subscribe. Mention us on social media, all the usual things that we have to do to convince the algorithm that two guys from Yorkshire know what they're doing. And
at least one of us
we'll
does.
keep raising the profile of Chippy Tea.
Yeah, we're on it. I feel like we're going to start. There's a bit of momentum to come.
Yeah.
Things are about to ramp up a bit.
Yeah, we'll keep pushing forward.
Marginal gains.
Right, on that bombshell, you have been watching me, Tony P from Palm Print, and
Danny Day, Flipper Sweet Print Co, Alt Best Shagger. Catch you next week.
Tune in next week, Shag Nasty.
Ta-da!
Oh, you keep giving me posh, no, she don't agree with me. I don't want lobster Chippy Tea.